Our next segment is the Global Showcase, wherein we invited participants from around the world to share their visions for the classrooms of tomorrow, focusing on key areas like pedagogical practices, learning, and much more. We received an overwhelming number of responses, with each of them emphasizing on various aspects like innovative practices, SCL, inclusiveness, technology, etc. Of all the responses we received, we have taken 6 sample contributions for today's sessions. These participants are here with us today. They are, as you can see on the slide, Kristel Mendoza from Philippines, Savita Mal from India, Mutdang Dogara Gopep from Nigeria, Romualdo Mabuan from Philippines, Isha Kapoor from India, and Marjenny from Indonesia. To moderate this insightful session, I am really honored to invite Dr. Padma Sarangapani, who is a professor at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, India, and the chairperson of Center of Excellence in Teacher Education. Welcome, Padma ma'am. She is a member of the Committee to Develop Professional Standards for Teacher Education at the National Council for Teacher Education, NCTE. She did her post-graduation in mathematics from IIT Madras and then did her doctoral studies from Delhi. Dr. Padma holds a Fulbright pre-doctoral fellowship, is also a Dudley Wright Fellow from Tufts University. She has had many achievements during her illustrious career. And to name some of them, some of her achievements, in fact, her list really runs very, very long, okay? Her list of publications, research work, achievements, everything. But I'll just take some of them. They are UNESCO King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa Prize for the use of ICT in education, and also the OER Award of 2019 for excellence in collaboration for her path-breaking project clips. In this panel, throughout in this particular segment, we can see a very beautiful interplay between research and teaching. Dr. Padma, she's a very renowned researcher in education, and she will be actually discussing with each and every practicing teacher the practice that they are showcasing. Together, they will come up with thoughts on what the future of teaching could look like. While we wait for Padma ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Padma ma'am, we can hear
great.
you.
I'm not able to turn my video
I think
on.
your video is not working, unfortunately.
Yes, I don't know what the problem is. I'm not able to activate it.
No problem, ma'am. That's perfectly fine, ma'am.
It's great if you can hear me. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sure.
Unfortunately,
Okay,
we are not able to see you.
Yes.
So, ma'am, we have our first participant with us, who is Miss Kristel Mendoza from Philippines. She's a grade 11 chemistry teacher. Kristel, ma'am, if you're here, I would like to give you a virtual same pinch, because I am also a chemistry teacher.
Hello, good afternoon, Miss Indira. Hi. My colleague in chemistry. It's nice to meet you virtually.
From India. I'm from India, you're from Philippines, but it's really lovely to, meet each other. And in fact, Kristel ma'am had shared a set of themes related to the use of digital personalization of learning through tech, through gamification, and global connect in teaching. And also another set of themes that speak about the teacher's role in forming characters and becoming mentors, becoming torch bearers. So in fact, on the screen, all of you can see gist of Padma ma'am, Kristel ma'am, can you hear me? Okay. So Padma ma'am and Kristel ma'am, the stage is all yours, or rather, I should say, the screen is all yours. Both of you, I think Padma ma'am and Kristel ma'am, you both have to unmute yourself. For some reason, you both have gone on mute. No?
All right.
Yeah, now I can hear you, Kristel ma'am. Padma ma'am, can you please unmute, ma'am? Okay. So while we wait for Padma ma'am also, Kristel ma'am, can you please speak a little bit about your response or your vision on
Yeah.
the global classrooms?
Yeah. And again, good afternoon, everyone. I am Kristel Mendoza from the University of Perpetual Health System, DALTA, Calamba, Laguna. I'm from the Philippines. And I am humbled to present to you my ideas on how I envision the future of teaching because I'm a visionary teacher. My work is a concept map about the future of teaching. And the biggest ideas, as you can see, in the concept map are digital learning, I mentioned there, virtual reality, personalized learning, intentional learning, character forming, global citizens, gamification, and the role of teachers. What I envision is that digital learning will be at its peak, including virtual reality as a platform for teaching and learning. From digital natives to digital citizen and to virtual learning communities, teaching and learning processes will be mostly online. Learning will be personalized and intentional, which means that instruction is differentiated, as mentioned by our speaker a while ago, and the students know the relevance of the subjects for their future profession. Teaching is character forming in a sense that this means that the curriculum integrates character formation among students, highlighting resilience, grit, and cultural values, which are important aspects of education. Teaching will be global means that the teachers are able to reach and teach students from different continents around the globe. The virtual classroom is inclusive regardless of color, gender, and race. Lessons will be mostly game-based in nature, promoting a have fun while learning principle. Teachers will be life coaches and mentors. Aside from that, they will be game designers or will be working with game designers in developing interactive lessons. And I also indicate some insights there, such as the future of teaching is exciting as I'm looking forward to the changes that would revolutionize the teaching process. Another insight is that the future of teaching is determined by teachers, of course, and not by technology, since the role of teachers in inspiring learners and helping their students reach their full potential are indispensable. And finally, my last insight is that I do believe that the future of teaching is the future of the world.
Okay. So thank you very much, ma'am. That is, the future of teaching is not by technology alone. You highlighted a very, very important and a valid point, because teachers play the role of inspiring, of being mascots for the life. Also, another thing, like out of the response that you had shared, can you just pick one example and share with us how is it that you're planning to try it in your own classroom, or perhaps you already implemented in your own classroom?
Yeah, actually, well, as my colleague in chemistry, as many research as also cited, chemistry is regarded as one of the most difficult and dreaded subjects in school, right? Do you agree with me? It's one of the most difficult subjects, and it has been a challenge for me to capture and sustain the interest of my students, especially in teaching complex concepts and calculations. And those challenges, I took that as opportunity and motivation for me to design learning activities, integrating games and simulations with a have fun while learning principle, because that's my motto in teaching, have fun while learning. Because for me, students learn better when they associate fun and happy memories with it. And based from my experience and my students' feedback as well, they love the activities and games that made them learn chemistry concepts in a fun way, thus increasing their participation, their interest, and of course, their performance in the subject.
Yeah. Indira, I think I'm back, if you can hear me. Oh, great. And see me this time. Thanks, Kristel. I was listening to you, even though you couldn't hear me or see me. And I was most interested in the observations that you made. I just wanted to follow up Indira's question with one more. What relevance do you see for chemistry itself as a subject and going forward in the future?
Yeah, my experience was during the pandemic. I find it difficult to do laboratory, especially in chemistry, because chemistry is coupled with laboratory. It has to be. It has the laboratory where the students can apply the concept. So it was a challenge for me, and that is when I realized the importance of the simulation, the virtual lab. So I think there are a lot of technology evolving right now, not just in chemistry, but in other fields like health sciences and medicine, that they have these virtual laboratories in which the students can do remotely, even at the comfort of their home. Own home, they can learn and perform the laboratories.
Thank you. Back to you, Indira.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kristel ma'am. I mean, it was really, really, I'm personally excited.
Yeah, me
And
too.
it was really very intriguing to see that a fellow chemistry teacher is giving a response.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kristel ma'am. And yes, audience, I can see every one of your responses. And likewise, I hope all of you can see how busy everybody is here on this meet, coordinating the GTM from 176 different countries sitting in one room. I next call upon our participant, Savita ma'am. She is a grade 8 English teacher from India. In her response, she had shared a practice of putting up inquiry based projects on Google Classroom for the students to work on, and then use the analytics from the platform to support the teachers, both academically and for socio emotional learning. In fact, you can see the response up here on the screen. She expressed a view that tech will play a significant role in SEL as well. So, Padma ma'am and Savita ma'am, it's over to both of you. The stage or the screen is all yours.
Thank you. So, Savita, can you give us some of the insights that you gained from the analytics that you were able to use? Because I often find that's one of the most tough things, the platform throws up information, and how do you as a teacher make sense of it? So can you share some insights on that?
Yes. First of all, I would like to wish good afternoon to everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
So I am a middle level leader and an English teacher at City Montessori School, Lucknow, India. And since when the pandemic started and we all switched on to the online platform, we saw and we tried to find so many ways in which we can use this online platform. And we started taking classes using Google Classroom. Now, whenever we post an assignment in the Google Classroom and we decide a timeline for our students to submit the assignments, so we keep a check on who is submitting the assignment on time and who is not. So if we see consistently there are a few students in the class who are not able to submit their assignments on time, we go and have an individual check-in with them, and we just discuss that what is the problem, what are the problems you are facing in the submission of your assignments. Is it a problem in understanding, or they are facing difficulty in some particular area? In that way, that analytic really helps us in finding out the problem area, and after this one-to-one discussion with them, what kind of intervention they need, we just try to provide that kind of intervention to the child.
Okay, great. I've also heard, I mean, and I myself have experienced how platforms democratize learning. In a classroom, maybe one or two people get to speak, but often in a platform, everybody has an opportunity to share their opinion. So have you used any such techniques which democratize
Yes, ma'am.
learning
Like
processes? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. Like if I have to give an example, I would say peer deck. When as an English teacher, when we were taking these online classes, we used to give all the verbal explanation and all. But writing skills, we have to develop writing skills of our children. That was very important. So I used peer deck, and it is very easy to use. We used to create a link. Let's suppose we want to give essay writing to the children, or we have to see their creative writing skills. So if you share a link with the children, all the students will type their answers, whatever answers they are typing, and that screen can be presented in the Google Classroom. So it was like reading the answers of the students, like I am reading, all the other students are reading, and then I would like stop at a place, display one student's answer, and collect students' feedback first. That you read the answer of your friend, what he has written. So can you say, like, tell something positive here? What are the good points here? Can you give a suggestion here? So the students will give their feedback, and final feedback would be given from my side. So when the same thing we are doing in the class and the children are writing answers in their notebooks, it is not easy to immediately see their answers, have a discussion on that. But using this, online platform, the students gave their feedback, I would give my feedback, and I would ask the children immediately make the changes. And it was wonderful to see that the student made their changes there, and I could check it. So in a very short period of time, I could provide feedback to many students, 10 to 15 students in the class. And the student felt very happy that immediately the intervention was provided and the changes were made. So that is one example that I wanted to.
I think that's a great example. Studio-based learning has often been talked about as one of the unique enablements of technology, where students can look at each other's work and be more collaborative rather than competitive in the work that they do. So that's a great example. Thank you so much. Back to you, Indira.
Okay. Thank you so much, Savita ma'am, for sharing those deep insights and the practical usage of Google Classrooms. Now, the audience, we have asked a question, or rather, we have requested your opinion, asking you all to share some examples of your teaching practices for the future from your own classrooms. So please share. And meanwhile, I happened to read one of the comments, which was by Janvi Anant Kumar ma'am. She said she uses info all the time using the United Nations as a reference. That's a very interesting and a very valid point to make. Thank you so much, audience. Thank you so much, Savita ma'am. Now I invite Mutdang Dogara Gopep, who's a grade 6 mathematics, computer science and technology teacher from Nigeria. He has a strong role in driving the flipped classroom initiative in Nigeria so that students can learn several things through the audio, video, etc. So the intention over here was that in the classroom, they focus more on the discussion and in the collaboration. So what happens here is it removes the need for having or implementing technology within the classroom. And that is more because many classrooms in the state do not have technology due to all different types of resource constraints and all other constraints. So here on the screen, we can see a small screenshot of Mutdang sir's classroom. Mutdang sir and Padma ma'am, over to you.
Mr. Mutdang, it's delightful to meet you. I've been collaborating with the University of the Ibrahim Babangida University at Lapai for many years now, and have several colleagues in Nigeria experimenting with use of technology in classrooms. Can you tell us a little bit about how you arrived at the use of flipped classrooms, what inspired you, and when you began to use it?
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate you Good morning, esteemed colleagues. As I explore the future of teaching, I am excited to share insight on the flipped classroom approach in teaching basic mathematics concepts in primary 1 to 3 pupils in Plateau State, Nigeria. I have decided to use this particular method as a result of the traditional learning methods that dominate our educational system, which focus on teacher-centeredness and written exams. This particular method of the traditional approach neglects critical thinking and creativity and problem-solving skills. But in contrast, the flipped classroom approach shifts the focus to child-centered learning. This, to me, is very, very important. Important in the sense that these old methods, or the traditional methods, decided to neglect this approach in the life of the child. And that does not give us a better future in the teaching profession. Therefore, I now employ this particular method, which is called flipped classroom approach. This subjects the child, subjects the student into having a first-hand information about the class which you will have either the following day or much later. And that helps me to have two sessions, one which I call a pre-class activity. In the pre-class activity, I design videos and materials, but I decided to use video. Why? Because it captures the attention of students or children. Once they are looking at it, it captures their attention. But if it is just the material, sometimes they might not have a look on it. And using that, it gives them information about what is supposed to have. They have an activity instead of depending in a class to just do it. I subject them to having confidence in themselves, to learning and doing it themselves. Then the next session is when we are in the class, and I call it the in-class activity. In the in-class activity, the children are at that moment based on discussion in various groups, sharing their ideas after watching the video or the record. That, I think, doing that, I have tried that in the class, and by doing that, it gives me a very good impression about what teaching could look like in the future, and that defines the theme of this very year in Global Teachers Meet. And I decided to employ that so that it can be of a great importance in our profession.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's really useful that you plan your lessons explicitly as a pre-class and in-class session so that you are able to go in very prepared and students then know what to expect from themselves before they come to your class and during the class. What kind of devices do students have access to? Do they receive this content on mobile? Are you hosting it on a platform? Do you send them links? How does this work out actually?
I would want to look at it from this point, that there's the constraint of resources, but the constraint of resources does not stop us from the usage of this flipped classroom approach. I used devices like Android phone, okay, which I employ the parental support. If you look at it from my own topic or the theme or the topic I presented, I use the lower basic class, which is primary 1 to 3, and I use the parental support, which their parents could have these devices that I send these information to them. In some cases, there are schools that have computer labs. We design or plan a timetable that accommodates a particular period where the student goes into the lab to now get the information. So I send it to them through those particular areas, and that assists them in getting such information, which is the use of technology that takes the center stage.
Would you be able to share an example of something that you did using this flipped class method during this last month and give us some insights into what happened during the class? How did it motivate students? How were the conversations in the class different? Any example?
Yes, there are examples. I actually started this particular program. It was a personal decision that I took to see that the future of these things is being prepared and looked upon. I now decided to use a particular topic in mathematics, using a topic in mathematics in the class, the understanding of standard form. Standard form to many students has been looked at as one of the abstract topics, not knowing exactly the application of this particular topic in the real life situation. But when I subject these children with the pre-class information, they now went into it. And one example I shared was, I asked a child, what was the experience of that child? That child says, the example she can give mostly is that when you use a larger number, for example, the population of its own community is very voluminous, or it looks very bogus if you should write the entire population of that community. It looks somehow difficult. But with the use of the pre-class activity I gave, they could be able to see that actually the standard form aids in reducing the number to a particular form that they can read easily. And that actually gave me an insight that that particular method is very important to be used, and that can better the future of teaching in our generation today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is yet another example of how teachers' own agency is very central in shaping technology adaptation and adoption. And all the examples we've had, Kristel, Savita, and now from Nigeria as well, show us teachers taking charge of the technology and producing content which is relevant to the students by yourselves. And I think this is really very exciting and important. I don't think we're looking at technology companies providing us with pre-made content, but rather using our own insights into what our students need and what they value to create valuable technology-mediated experiences for them. So it's really very inspiring to hear all three of you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mutdang, for sharing your experiences from Nigeria, and also showing us that in underserved regions like India, like Nigeria, we can still aspire to integrate technology meaningfully into our classrooms in different ways. Thank you. Back to you, Indira.
Thank you so much, Mutdang sir, and Padma ma'am. That's a very, very valid point which you highlighted. Students taking charge of their learning through technology. That is a very valid point. Thank you so much, Mutdang sir. Now we move on to the next participant. I now invite Romualdo Mabuan from Philippines, who is a graduate and undergraduate teacher. He teaches literature and history to graduate and undergraduate students. He has been a part of large-scale MOOC camps initiative and allow access to expert faculty for students anywhere in the region, including very, very remote areas. So here is Romualdo sir's response. And it's really, really inspiring to see the response. Thank you so much, Romualdo sir, for joining us and, of course, for sharing the response. And Romualdo sir and Padma ma'am, the screen is all yours once again.
Thank you very much. Yeah, please go ahead, Romualdo. It would be really interesting for us to hear about your experiences from higher education and how you're gearing up to new technologies and new ways of doing things.
All right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you alighted on this modality of working and what kind of positive impact it has had for your students and also for yourself?
All right. Thank you, Indira and Padma. Again, I'm Romualdo from Far Eastern University in Manila, the Philippines. And I also represent our group called MOOC Camp Philippines. I'd like to thank Senta for this opportunity to share our practices here in the country. I'd like to begin by highlighting that teachers' engagement in continuing professional development is key to achieving United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is quality education. The future of teaching is rooted in inclusivity, accessibility, and continuous professional growth. And massive open online courses, or MOOCs, are at the forefront of this transformation. MOOCs since 2008 have democratized education by making learning resources available to anyone, anywhere, for free. So in the Philippines, we've taken this a step further with MOOC camps, facilitated sessions that promote both self-directed and collaborative learning. Since 2014, we have facilitated several MOOC camps across the country and have empowered thousands of educators by offering practical, accessible, and professional development. These MOOC camps focus on relevant educational needs, from integrating technology to addressing classroom challenges, helping teachers directly apply what they learn to practice. So I believe what makes our MOOC camps very powerful is their alignment with effective professional development principles, such as content focus, active learning, and collaboration. Ultimately, I believe that embracing MOOC camps and other similar initiatives will be key to creating equitable access to lifelong learning, especially reaching out to teachers in many unserved or underserved communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a very thoughtful presentation on using MOOCs. What has your experience been, Romualdo, and the experience of this entire initiative? Many people observe that, in a MOOC course, only 3 to 5% of those who enroll actually complete, because MOOC, while it gives access, is not able to actually ensure involvement. And it depends too much on one's own motivation to stay engaged. So what has your experience of that been, and how have you been able to address this?
That is right, yeah. While MOOCs democratize access to education, the completion rate is actually very low globally. Okay, that is has been researched already. So we have this community of practice concept called MOOC camp. So we use MOOC and we build a camp. So this concept has been created by the US Department of State through the regional English language offices across the world. So in a MOOC camp, teachers do not have to learn or to access MOOCs on their own. In this camp, we gather all educators together, enroll in one particular course, and then engage in what we call group learning. So it's a combination of group facilitated learning, because we have to meet regularly, plus some self-regulated learning.
Right.
So the MOOCs create some sort of community among our educators, and that produces a cohesive bond among the MOOC takers, helping and motivating one another to complete the course.
Yeah.
So we have solved the low MOOC completion rate, and with our MOOC camps, the completion rate is about 85 to 95%.
That's amazing. I think if you are able to, through this strategy, achieve this higher level of completion, then I think it's really remarkable. And I think the methodology that you've adopted, it's a great adaptation, demonstrating that professional learning is basically social in its character. And building the community is so important to actually enabling the process of learning. I think this was one of the most important discoveries we all made during COVID, isn't it? That learning wasn't content transfer. It was really a social experience. And the social process was as important as the quality of the content and the access to experts. So thank you very much. I think that's a very thoughtful way of drawing our attention to the value of embedding technology in communities and using the technology to enable a local community to come together. I think that's also a really great demonstration that you have shared with us. And I think definitely this is one way in which many innovations can be scaled and operate at scale without losing the social dimension of learning. So thank you so much, Romualdo. It's a very valuable experience indeed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Romualdo sir, for sharing your insight. Now we have a question from the audience. Isma Tayar's question is this: that is there a way to join a MOOC camp, or how is it that we can join a MOOC camp?
Yeah,
So that's a
very
question
good
from one of
question.
the
Yeah,
audience.
we would want to reach out to all educators, right, and engage them in professional development. I have actually shared in the chat a link giving you more information about the MOOC camps from the Open Professional English Network. So please kindly click that link and then access. You can also connect with the nearest regional English language office or any U.S. embassy near you if you would like to establish your MOOC camp. There are MOOC camps across the world. So all you need to do is to reach out, find them online. You can contact the Open Network through that link I shared in the chat. You can also search Facebook groups or the net and then connect with them. The MOOC camps are formed and sustained by volunteer educators like us. So they're always open to welcome everyone who is interested in participating in these communities of practice.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Romualdo sir. Okay, moving on. We now have a primary school mathematics teacher, Isha Kapoor ma'am, joining in from India. This teacher has shared a vibrant classroom with a lot of physical activities for math. Personally speaking, I'm very much interested because math was one of my pain points as a student. More about Isha ma'am's submission. She has actually spoken about how learning takes place in an activity-based manner. So, Isha ma'am, over to you, ma'am. Isha ma'am and Padma ma'am.
Yeah. So
Isha ma'am, can you please switch on your video?
Ma'am, I've switched it on.
Okay.
Okay, we can see IK, Isha Kapoor.
Could be a problem I was facing when I first signed in. Yeah. Isha, can you hear us? Are you able to?
Yeah, now we can see you, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, some connectivity issues. I'm so sorry for this.
No, no.
No problem, ma'am. We can take this ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Yeah. So it would be really nice, Isha, if you can share a few examples of what you have done to enhance and enable activity-based learning in your maths classroom. And importantly, how do you address the concerns of your school administration about the noise and movement in your class when they do activities? And doesn't completing portions with activities bother you, worry you?
Ma'am, if you see, ma'am, always the traditional approach doesn't work. There are students who fear from maths, but these activities, they are just encouraging them that they are active there. Like if you see my matchstick activity, where they had used those matchstick in real to get that general rule. Earlier, when I used to see, the students just did not want to study maths, or some would say, ma'am, I'm not a maths person there. I was getting these statements, but when I added these activities in my classrooms, there was a lot of change in the approach which students have. They were active. Ma'am, I also want to be a participant. Ma'am, see, I got this rule. Am I right there? Ma'am, can you correct me? And they were helping. When they're working in teams, they are not just developing educational wise, but the personality is also enhancing. Like they are thinking, their creative skills are encouraging. They are helping each other there. And if you see, ma'am, I know there are concerns that how I'm going to complete the course on time. But now when we have planned these activities, it's been a time there. Now students know, okay, I have to make the arrangement. So they know the gestures there. Okay, exchange. So now they know they have They know I have to be disciplined, or I have to speak on my own turn. So they are used to this. When you take it in the first go, I know, ma'am, everything does not work out, but slowly, steadily, when these activities are being taken up, they get used to it. Now they know, okay, ma'am, today we have an activity, we are going to make the arrangements, we are going to speak in our turns there. I'm going to help my peer. If my peer is not able to answer, I'm not going to let him down. Rather, I will help my peer. I will encourage him. So all these qualities are just being developed in them slowly and steadily. And now, ma'am, like in the time, like if I take up my one activity, equation relay, so it's just, they are not just an activity there, they are learning also there. When they're solving equation in that time span, they are just prepared for exam also, where they have limited time there and they have to solve the equations there, questions there, and they're working with each other. Maybe they're shy, but their buddies, study buddies or their peer partners are helping them out there. So I feel, ma'am, that, yeah, yes, ma'am.
How did you get the confidence to make this shift, Isha? What inspired you to
Ma'am,
adopt
like
it?
earlier, I was also little confused and little worried for the same. But I said, let's take this step. Let's see what change is there. So when I took this first activity, Mega Number Challenge, I saw the excitement of the students. They were really happy. The ones who were not excited for maths, they also were engaged there. So that showed me, like my principal ma'am also, Aditi ma'am, she was saying, ma'am, you can go, you can see what are the student interested in, find out their interest, so that at least they shift their interest towards math. And there are students who are not interested at all in maths. You give them the chance, they sit back, ma'am, it's not my cup of tea there, or something like that. But ma'am told me, ma'am, you have to explore. Let's see, at least 20% will be there, 30% will be there who are engaged, and let's take it as a effort there, and let's take it forward. And slowly, ma'am, from 20 to 80 and this 90%, it has kept me encouraging there to take these activities. Yeah.
So how many years have you been such an activity-based
Ma'am,
maths teacher?
so just 1 year for me. I
It's
was
been
just
a whole
raw.
year.
Steadily, I'm also learning. It's a learning process for me. Even daily, I go to school. Something I learn from the students also, because this active engagement in the class, it's really helpful for both ways. Not for the student, but for me as a teacher, for my personal growth also.
Okay.
Yes.
Did your pre-service teacher education prepare you for such a classroom?
So sorry, ma'am.
Did your pre-service teacher education, whether it was BLEd or DLEd or BEd, did
No,
it prepare
ma'am.
you to teach like this?
Ma'am, I'm just completing my BEd only.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. But I tell you, I am also a pass out of CMS. So my teachers, the way the approaches was like, it's helping me to train my own students. So you say, no, ma'am, the teachers are always there standing beside. So they are still there. All their experiences, all their methodologies is helping me to guide my own students.
Okay. And how do you evaluate students and their learning at the end of an activity?
Yes,
how do you know
like
that?
we are like time, yeah.
No, I'm
Time
curious to know
I'm
whether you have
like,
traditional learning assessments, or have you also innovated in that?
yes, ma'am. Like I have created the worksheets there. One of the I just share an instance there that previously only I taught them about the prime numbers. Now I just wanted to make out whether they know what is prime number, whether they are able to break the number into their factors, prime factors. So I took up maths board side, where we have those puzzles there. They had the prime number in 20 seconds. They had to encircle all the prime numbers. So I was in a fun manner. It was not a game, just a game, but they were revising the concept. And even I also got the feedback, okay, still there are 10% who have a doubt there what are prime numbers, or they are not able to decompose the number. So I just keep, like, it's not just, ma'am, written feedback, maybe oral, how they respond in the class. I make out that, okay, what they have got there, still there are any problems. So I just call the students also to address the doubts. Or even the child who makes a mistake, I ask him, you find what are you wrong at, you can tell me. So all these things I take up, like the worksheets there, the surprise test, feedback from them, KWL charts, what you know, what they want to know, what they have learned in that particular session.
Sure. Thank you, Isha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Isha ma'am. Actually, your response and the way you explained speaks volumes about the passion the deep-seated passion in your profession and the commitment you have towards it. Thank you so much, Isha ma'am. Moving on, we have Marjenny from Indonesia, who's a grade 12 English teacher. Marjenny has shared the practice of using both infographics and text-to-speech software in English learning, especially where students may not be native English speakers. Welcome, and over to you, Marjenny ma'am and Padma ma'am. Please go ahead.
Marjenny, it would be really nice if you can explain to us how you have used these technologies for English language teaching and what led you to deciding to integrate them into your classroom.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Indira and Ma'am Padma. Can you listen to me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, honorable audience, ladies and gentlemen, the idea of integrating technology comes to my mind when I just see when the students just use conventional way in, especially because I'm an English teacher, especially when I teach writing. You know that writing is the most complicated skill that we have to teach the students, right? So when I ask my students just to write the text, I think it's just common sense. So I try to find another way to teach them in a different way. So here I use infographic Canva, and I try to combine it with text to speech. So I also use technology, something like AI here. So I ask my students to write descriptive text, especially about tourism objects in my country, Indonesia, especially in my province, West Sumatra province. And I want my students to write local tourism object first. So in my mind, because they have known about the tourism object around them, so it will be much easier for them to write and to talk about what they write so far. So if I just ask them to write in conventional way, it is some of the students get bored, ma'am. So I try to integrate it with technology here. So I divide the students into groups. So in this group, there are a combination of several kinds of students' learning styles. There are students who are visual, kinesthetic, and also audio learners. So, and then they work together, and they write the text in a conventional way first, and then they implement it into Canva, something like infographics. I use this because it is interesting, and they are free to explore their critical thinking, their communication skills, and also their technology, because we know that we are facing a digital native Gen Z, the students who were born with technology itself. And then after that, after they make their infographics, their Canva, and then I ask them to transcribe their text into a speaking form. Here I use text to speech, or TTS. I call it abbreviated with TTS, text to speech, and I let them free to create, to choose the sound that they like. So they may choose the voice of teenagers in their teenagers, right? The voice of teenagers, and whether it is boys and girls, and then they transcribe the text into oral form. And after that, I ask them to listen again, or to present about the text. So now they have two different versions of text. It is in written form and in oral form. And it seems to me that since I try to integrate technology here, so it is fun for my students actually. So they're happy to listen to the result or the product of their text, and they keep listening and keep presenting the text in front of others for classical. That's it, ma'am.
I think that's a great example, Marjenny. I really enjoyed how you have given technology into the hands of students.
Yeah.
And you're getting them to use the technology to work with language and to become confident that they can work in a multimodal space.
Yes.
With language. And that's really very exciting. Also, I think you've been able to place students as producers of things. And one of the beautiful things about technology is that when students work in groups collaboratively, they make mistakes, they correct it, and they're learning all the time through this process. Technology, you can redo things.
Yep.
It's not you can erase and re-record. And I'm sure your students use all these, affordances of technology as they're becoming proficient with technology use, but also finding ways in which language use is actually meaningful.
Yeah.
And especially with a foreign language experience, giving them authentic opportunities to use the language is so empowering. So I think this is really a very inspiring example. I'm delighted that you shared this and that there was space for you to bring this into the classroom. Also, I feel you, like Romualdo, have shown us how technology can also empower language classes.
Yep.
And literature learning. It's not only something which is meant for science and mathematics education, but has a very widespread applicability, provided we use it interactively. We as teachers ourselves take charge of the way we want to integrate technology into our classrooms. And thirdly, we put learners as active users of technology and not just passively watching videos, passively listening to recordings. I'm so glad that instead of just listening to English language exchanges, you got students to speak, record, and use infographics and this audio text conversion. Thank you very much for that very enriching example.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Indira, how would you like us to conclude? I think we're almost on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Marjenny, ma'am. I think that is a very beautiful example of active learning, like children themselves making their text and converting it into speech. They choose the voices, the kind of voices they want. That's a beautiful example. Before we conclude, there's one quick question from our audience, from Ms. Usha Ramesh. She's asked, how is it that we can inculcate reading habits at the primary level?
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm just thinking, if any of our panelists may want to respond to that. Have any of you tried inculcating reading habits at the primary level?
Primary level.
Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, I see. Okay, let me try. When we come to reading section, just try to adjust the level of difficulty of the text that I'm giving to the students, especially for, there is a differentiated instruction in my classroom. So I just try to also distinguish content first to the students. I mean, I try to give the text, the model of the text first in the form of written text, and then they read it, or they can do a jigsaw reading. And also, as what Ma'am Fatma taught us just now, that I also ask them to watch the video first. So I just try to make them familiar with the reading text before they try to create their own in the form of writing and speaking. That's it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marjenny ma'am and Padma ma'am. Thank you so much for I don't think thank you would be enough. It's like a very, very small word. And a big thank you to Padma ma'am and all the teachers who participated over here and who joined us from around the world, from Philippines, from Indonesia, from India, and from Nigeria. And it is actually really inspiring to be a witness to such a thoughtful and an intelligent conversation happening. Big thank you to all of you, to all those who have joined us from around the world for this particular section.